The night sky above the outer colonies was quiet and beautiful, and for most of the settlers, it felt like any other evening. But far beyond the stars, something had already begun that no one on Earth could see at first. Signals vanished from 3 distant outposts. Almost at the same time, one by one, the communication relays went dark. The last transmission was broken and full of static, a voice shouting something about fire in the sky, before silence swallowed the feed. Earth Command thought. It was a technical fault at first, but when another colony stopped answering less than an hour later, fear spread quickly across the control rooms. The Galactic Council received the same reports. They sat in their massive chamber in the heart of the galaxy, looking down at the human section of the map. Whole regions were blinking red where signals had gone dark. The councillors whispered to each other. Some laughed and said that humans were finally finished, that the young species had always grown too fast, too bold, too arrogant. Others wondered if someone else had moved in the shadows, perhaps an enemy that had waited for the perfect moment to strike, but no one spoke that thought aloud. On Earth, the generals gathered in the underground war room. The giant table in the center showed the colonies one by one disappearing from the network families. On those worlds had no chance to scream for help. The attacks were too fast and too precise. Drones, satellites, ships, everything erased. With clean silence, the officers wanted to send fleets immediately, but the Supreme Commander shook his head. They were not ready to show their hand. Not yet. Let them believe we are weak. He whispered. The others looked shocked, but they trusted him. Earth had secrets the Council did not know. Above one ruined colony, an alien fleet drifted in orbit. The invaders had not left behind wreckage. They had swallowed entire settlements with advanced weapons that left nothing but dust. They expected cries for mercy from Earth. They expected to see broken humans crawling to the Council for help. But Earth sent no message. The silence from humanity was worse than screams, and it unsettled even the invaders. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, reports continued to pour in, more and more colonies erased. The councillors demanded to know what Earth would do, but there was nothing to discuss. No human ambassador stood to speak. They had all gone silent. The alien delegates smirked. Some clapped their claws against the table. They believed the problem had solved itself without a single war. They were wrong. A young human technician in the hidden bunker beneath the Andes Mountains stared at the console, his voice shaking as he turned to his superior. Sir, all our outer colonies are gone, but the commander did not panic. Instead, he leaned closer and smiled. Then he gave the order to activate Operation Ghost. One by one, human fleets powered down their lights and communication arrays from the outside. It looked like Earth was withdrawing from the stars, like they had been broken and were retreating to lick their wounds. But in truth, they were preparing something far greater. The Council sent spies to check Earth's fleets. They found empty, or silent docks. They reported back that humanity had abandoned their expansion and hidden their ships. This news spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Worlds that had once feared humans now celebrated their disappearance. At last, the upstart species had been put in its place, or so they believed. Yet in the darkness of deep space, Earth's warships drifted without a sound, cloaked by technology. No one suspected they had human pilots sat inside their cockpits waiting in silence. Eyes, sharp hands, steady every second. Their anger grew hotter because every ship carried the faces of families erased by the attack. Every soldier knew they were waiting not for survival, but for revenge. The commanders drilled them in absolute silence. Not a single radio call escaped the hidden zones. Not a single beacon betrayed their presence. The galaxy thought humans had fled, but they were only sharpening their blades. Meanwhile, ordinary people on Earth felt the tension without knowing the truth. Cities were darkened under martial law skies, filled with silent patrol drones. News stations spoke of technical failures, but no one believed it. Rumors spread about whole colonies going dark. Families sobbed in the streets for brothers and sisters. They could not reach mothers, clutch their children tighter every night. People whispered that the Council had abandoned them, and maybe it had. But in the hidden rooms of Earth Command, every whisper only fueled the decision to strike back harder than anyone could imagine. In the Council chamber, a single delegate raised a question that silenced the room. What if Earth is not gone? What if they are only waiting? The others laughed, but their laughter rang hollow. Deep down, they knew the humans had always been different, too stubborn to surrender, too clever to collapse in silence. But none of them could see the fleets drifting in the shadows like wolves in the night, ready to strike. The alien invaders grew confident. They sent more ships to take what remained of human space. Their commanders joked about burning Earth itself. Next, they planned a grand invasion to finish the species forever. What they did not know was that Earth had already marked them. Every ship, every station, every signal had been mapped by human spies long before the attacks. Humanity knew their weaknesses and their patterns. They had been preparing for years, while the Council dismissed them as reckless. On the edge of the solar system, a single human scout ship picked up the enemy's signals. The young pilot whispered into the dark, "We see them now." He sent no transmission outwards, only into the secured network where Earth Command waited. The commander listened in silence, then nodded. The enemy believed Earth was blind, but in reality Earth saw them more clearly than ever before. The first colony to fall silent had been Eden. 12, a green world with forests and oceans. Now it was dust, but hidden cameras survived the attack, transmitting fragments. Back to Earth, the images showed towering alien ships releasing a storm of energy across the planet's surface. The recordings ended before the colonists died, but that was enough. The commanders replayed the footage in the war room. Soldiers stood and clenched their fists, their faces pale with rage. In that moment, humanity no longer fought for survival. They fought for vengeance. The Council met again, still smug. They drafted proposals to divide the now empty human colonies among themselves, each species claiming resources and territory like vultures around a corpse. But while they argued, Earth remained silent, and the silence was deafening. Even those who hated humans began to feel unease if Earth was truly gone. Why had no message of surrender ever been sent? Why had no human ambassador begged for mercy? The silence was worse than defiance. It felt like the pause before a storm act. Last, the alien fleets prepared to advance toward Earth itself. They believed the planet would fall like the colonies without resistance. They gathered in proud formation, sails, bright engines burning but unseen just beyond the darkness. Earth's hidden fleets drifted ready, waiting. The human commander whispered to his crew, "Let them come." The episode closes on the vision of Earth itself turning slowly in the black of space, beautiful blue and green, but wrapped now in the shadows of massive hidden stations, satellites and fleets, all cloaked and waiting. The enemy thought they had silenced humanity, but they had only awakened something far deadlier. The silence of Earth was not weakness, it was the silence of hunters holding their breath before the strike. The galaxy thought humanity had vanished. The colonies were gone, the fleets were invisible. The signals silent on the maps inside the Galactic Council chamber. Human space looked like a graveyard, stars dark and empty. No one believed a species that young could survive such a strike. The councillors whispered that the age of humanity had ended. Some even laughed and toasted their glasses, but not everyone was convinced. A few silent voices muttered that something was wrong. Silence was never the human way. Humans always fought. Humans always shouted. Humans always resisted. But now there was only emptiness on Earth. The great blackout was in full effect. Cities looked darker than before. Radio towers, silent communication lines, dead satellites orbiting quietly without signal. It was the perfect illusion to anyone watching. It looked as though Earth had folded in fear, pulling everything back, hiding under its own sky. The alien spies reported to the Council that humans had stopped transmitting entirely. No ships were seen, no colonies left, only the single home world trembling. In the dark, or so they thought. The truth was far different beneath the oceans of Earth. Deep bunkers and command rooms glowed with hidden light. Commanders watched the enemy fleets moving through the stars. Their faces hard, their voices calm. Everything was recorded, tracked, studied. They called it Operation Ghost, the plan that had been prepared years before, for the day the galaxy finally turned against them, and now it was unfolding perfectly. The invaders sent small raiding fleets to patrol human space, expecting no resistance. One fleet returned with reports of empty stations, no signs of life. Another found an abandoned colony orbiting a dying sun. But the cities were strangely untouched, as though people had simply walked away. Every street, every house, every port left in silence. Their commanders grew suspicious, but decided the humans had run in panic. Still, the question lingered: if humanity had truly fallen, where had the survivors gone? In the shadows of the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune, dozens of massive human carriers floated without light, their hulls painted black, blending into the void inside them. Thousands of soldiers waited in silence. The captains drilled them every day. The order was simple: do not move, do not speak until the command is given. Across the halls, men and women clenched their teeth, thinking of their families lost in the first attacks. They dreamed not of survival, but of revenge, and that thirst burned hotter. With every passing hour, the Galactic Council held another meeting to decide what to do with the empty human colonies. The chamber was full of noise species, shouting over each other, each one demanding pieces of human territory, minerals, weapons, technology, even food stores left behind. They argued like scavengers dividing a corpse. No one noticed that the human ambassador's seat remained empty, cold and silent. Some delegates felt unease, their claws tapping the tables nervously. One of them whispered, "If humans are truly gone, why do I feel like they are still watching?" Back on Earth, a secret fleet powered up quietly in the far side of the moon. Engines muffled, signals masked to appear as background radiation. The ships were sleek, new designs unknown to the Council, forged in hidden shipyards deep beneath the crust of Mars and in underground stations near Jupiter. These were not the outdated ships the galaxy had seen before. These were weapons born in secret, with technology stolen, studied, and reshaped into something uniquely human. One engineer whispered, as the fleet prepared, "Once they see this, they will never laugh again." Ordinary citizens on Earth felt the strangeness of the blackout. People were ordered not to use long-distance communication. Entire families cut off from loved ones in other cities. The government released no statements. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Earth was dead already and only waiting for the final strike. Others said Earth had built a weapon so terrible it could not be revealed yet. At night, people gathered in the dark streets, looking up at the stars, wondering if their brothers and sisters were still alive on the colonies. And deep inside they prayed someone would answer in the alien fleets patrolling human space. Unease spread too. Ships reported strange sensor glitches, shadows moving where no ships should be. Sometimes they heard faint pings on their scanners like whispers in the dark. Then nothing. Their captains dismissed it as malfunctions. But soldiers spoke in fear-hushed voices about ghosts of humans drifting in the void. Some began to believe that humans had not fled, but were watching from the dark, waiting like predators in tall grass. The Galactic Council requested proof that humanity was finished, so the invaders prepared to stage a final display. They would burn one of the remaining colonies on live broadcast to prove humanity was gone. The cameras were readied. The flames roared across the world below, but as the transmission streamed across the chamber, something unexpected happened. A faint signal pulsed through the broadcast. It lasted only a second, but it was unmistakable, a human code. The councillors froze in shock. No one spoke but the humans watching from their hidden rooms smiled. That single pulse was no accident, it was bait. Earth wanted them to know. Earth wanted them to wonder, because doubt spreads faster than fire. Once doubt takes root, it destroys unity. The councillors left the chamber whispering to each. Some demanded to increase the assault. Others quietly ordered their fleets to stay away from human borders. None of them wanted to be the first to find out what Earth was hiding. Meanwhile, in the hidden war rooms of Earth, the Supreme Commander stood before the gathered captains, his voice low, steady. "We are shadows for now, but when the moment comes, the galaxy will remember our name." Silence filled the room. The soldiers felt it in their bones, the calm before a storm larger than anything they had ever known. On a distant outpost, one alien scout ship picked up a strange energy reading, faint but powerful. It followed the signal deep into the void, where it saw something that chilled the crew. Entire human fleets, drifting dark, silent. Like ghosts, their engines cold, their lights off but their weapons primed. The scout ship turned to run, but by the time it sent its warning, it was already too late. Earth had seen them. Earth had marked them. The crew never made it back. Their ship was erased with a single silent strike, nothing but static reaching the command fleet. When the council heard of this disappearance, they told themselves it was an accident, but fear already coiled in their hearts. Across the galaxy, whispers grew in markets and taverns on faraway worlds. Travelers spoke of strange shadows moving in human space. Some said Earth had gone dark because they were building a weapon. Others said Earth had discovered something ancient hidden beneath their soil, a power. The council feared to speak of none of the stories were true, yet none were false either, because the truth was worse. The episode closes with a single vision. The human homeworld turning slowly beneath the clouds of night, the lights of the cities. Dim the people, silent the council, celebrating too soon. But beyond the dark edges of space, humanity was not gone. Humanity was only hidden, waiting, and the silence of Earth was not surrender. It was the sharp breath before a strike that would shake. The stars themselves, the alien fleet drifted through the black silence of human space. They believed the hunt was finished. They thought the colonies gone, the people erased, and Earth itself ready to collapse. They had no reason to fear the dark because they believed they had killed the last sparks of resistance. But far below the stars, in hidden command rooms, humanity watched them with cold, patient eyes. The invaders did not know they had walked into a trap. Inside Earth's deep war bunkers, the Supreme Commander stood in front of the hollow map, glowing red with enemy positions. His voice was steady as he gave the order tonight. The silence ends. Every officer felt the weight of those words. The blackout had fooled the galaxy long enough now. The time for waiting was over. They would strike, and the galaxy would finally see the humans were not prey. They were hunters in the void beyond Saturn. 3 alien destroyers patrolled lazily, their sensors scanning empty space. One officer yawned and muttered that humans had no courage left, but just as his words left his lips, a faint ping echoed through their comms, a signal short, clear and unmistakable. It was human code. The bridge went silent. Every alien froze. They had not heard a human. Transmission in weeks, then the voice came calm and steady. "We are still here." Before the crew could react, the stars around them flared. White spears of kinetic fire rained from above, tearing through the hulls with unstoppable force. One ship split, open in silence, its body twisting in the void. Another erupted in a storm of light. The third tried to flee, but from the shadows human fighters emerged, their black hulls glowing faint blue as they cut across the sky. The destroyer never stood a chance. Within minutes, the entire patrol was gone. Only silence remained, but this time it was not the silence of victory, it was the silence of fear. The Galactic Council watched the feeds in horror. The battle had been captured by the scouts and broadcast. Before the ships died, the image of human weapons striking from the dark played again and again across the chamber. No one spoke at first. Then voices rose in panic. Some delegates screamed that the humans had returned. Others demanded an immediate, combined strike to burn Earth to ashes, but not all agreed. One delegate whispered they never left, and the chamber fell silent again. Back on Earth, the soldiers cheered as the first counterstrike was confirmed across the hidden bases. The message: Spread humanity had spoken for the first time since the colonies were destroyed. Every man and woman felt their hearts burn with fire. Families who had lived in fear now raised their heads in pride. Children whispered that their parents were fighting. Back the darkness that had weighed over the world for weeks finally cracked. But this was only the beginning. The Supreme Commander knew one strike was not enough. The galaxy needed to understand the full reach of Earth's power. He ordered phase. 2 fleets moved silently into position around the outer edges of alien territory stations that had thought themselves safe. Suddenly found their systems jamming, their comms flooded with strange signals. Then the attacks came fast, sharp, merciless. Human drones slipped past defenses, cutting through engines and weapons before vanishing again. The aliens never saw the full fleets, only shadows flickering before death. In the council chambers, the arguments grew louder. One faction demanded to crush humanity immediately before their power spread. Another argued that attacking again might provoke something worse. Whispers spread about human technology no one had seen before. Weapons forged in secret bases, engines that could hide entire fleets. In plain sight, the fear was worse than truth, because no one knew how deep human strength went. The invaders who had launched the first strikes felt the most fear. They had been certain humanity would break quickly. They had seen colonies fall without sound. They had believed the silence meant death. Now they realized the silence had been a mask. The humans had hidden everything, their fleets, their soldiers, their rage, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One alien fleet gathered near a captured human colony, planning to reinforce it. But as their ships descended, they saw something strange on the surface. The cities that had once been empty were lit with fire signals, flashed in coded bursts across the dark hills. And then the first explosions came from beneath the ground. Human resistance fighters had never left. They had hidden among the ruins, waiting with weapons supplied from the shadows. As the alien ships tried to respond, human warships appeared above the colony, pouring fire down from orbit. The aliens were trapped between ground and sky. None survived. The colony was free. News of this spread faster than any council attempt to contain it across the galaxy. Smaller species whispered in awe. Humanity had lost dozens of colonies, yet here they were, striking back harder than anyone imagined. Entire fleets crushed, outposts reclaimed, soldiers fighting with fire in their eyes. Many worlds had feared Earth, but now they began to wonder if perhaps Earth was something else entirely, a power too dangerous to provoke a power worth following. In the streets of Earth, cities erupted in cautious joy as word of the counter-strike leaked. Families who had cried for lost loved ones now felt hope. Banners were painted across walls with the simple words, "We are still here." The government released no official message, but the silence now carried a different meaning. It was not fear, it was strength. Humanity had spoken once, and that was enough for now. Yet in the council chamber, fear grew deeper than ever. One delegate spoke in a trembling voice. "What if Earth is stronger than all of us?" The others shouted him down, but his words remained echoing in their minds, because even the most arrogant species could not deny the truth. They had seen human fleets hidden in shadows. They had seen alien ships burned to dust in minutes. They had seen courage where there should have been only despair. Back in the void, the next wave of human attacks was already prepared. Swarms of stealth drones shaped like black knives drifted toward alien supply lines. Engines, cold signals masked when they struck. Whole convoys disappeared without a trace. The council received desperate calls for help, But no fleets could arrive in time. By the time reinforcements reached the coordinates, there was nothing left, only floating wreckage and silent beacons, blinking a single human message. We remember. The alien commanders were furious, but behind their rage was fear. Soldiers spoke of ghosts that moved faster than light weapons, that tore through shields like paper. Entire crews began to refuse assignments into human space. Desertions rose. Fleets that had once hunted humans now stayed back, clinging to their borders, unwilling to step into the dark where human shadows waited. The Supreme Commander on Earth looked over the reports and allowed himself a rare smile. Every strike was working exactly as planned. The enemy was bleeding their fleets, their morale, their unity. Earth had been underestimated, but no longer. He whispered to his officers, "Let them fear the dark. The more they fear, the stronger we grow." But the humans were not blind to danger. They knew the Council would not remain frozen forever. Eventually, they would gather everything they had and strike back with the force of the entire galaxy. That day would come, and humanity had to be ready. But for now, the counter-strikes were enough to buy time to show. The galaxy that Earth was not finished. Earth was rising. The episode closes on the vision of a shattered alien ship drifting in the void, its hull glowing with fire among the wreckage. A small human beacon blinked steadily, the signal spreading across the stars, carried by countless stolen relays. Every species could see it, a single phrase repeating over and over. We are still here and across the galaxy, in chambers, in markets, in war rooms, and in quiet homes. That phrase burned into memory because it was not just a signal, it was a promise. The council chamber was never quiet, but that day the noise felt different. The voices were sharp, full of fear and anger. Reports of human counterstrikes had arrived again. Whole fleets gone, convoys destroyed, colonies reclaimed. The delegates argued across the long circle table, their faces twisted with panic. Some shouted that Earth must be destroyed now. Others demanded to wait and study how humans had grown so strong. The chamber lights flickered as the chaos rose higher. The great hall that had once ruled the galaxy felt more like a marketplace of fear. At the center, the high speaker pounded the table for silence, but his voice carried little power anymore. Too many worlds had suffered losses. From the humans, too many families were grieving, entire fleets erased in minutes. When silence finally fell, a delegate from a powerful predator species rose, his scales glistening. He spoke with fury. "The humans must be crushed now. We cannot wait. Another day, every moment we waste, they grow stronger." But another delegate from a weaker world stood shaking his head. His people had seen the recordings of the counterstrikes. The message, "We are still here," burned into their minds. His voice trembled, but his words were clear. "We cannot defeat them. We should talk to them, make peace before it is too late." The chamber erupted again, factions forming quickly. The war faction wanted extermination at all costs. The peace faction whispered about negotiations and alliances. Some even wondered if Earth might protect them from other enemies, but the loudest voices drowned the whispers. The war faction pushed for an armada to be built, greater than any seen before. Yet behind their confidence was fear. None of them could deny that humanity had done what no young race should be able to do. They had hidden entire fleets from the eyes of the galaxy. They had struck with weapons no one had seen before. In the shadows at the edge of the chamber, an aide slipped quietly between seats, passing sealed datapads to select delegates. These were human spies, hidden under perfect disguises. Their faces changed, their bodies adjusted by stolen tech. None in the chamber suspected they were watched by the very species. They feared each datapad carried lies, crafted carefully to deepen the divide between factions. Some messages suggested that certain species already sought private peace with humans. Others hinted that allies were planning betrayal within days. The whispers turned to suspicion. Then paranoia back on Earth. The Supreme Commander read the intercepted reports from those very spies, his expression calm but satisfied. Every whisper in the chamber made the Council weaker. Every division bought humanity. More time. He turned to his officers. We do not need to break the Council with fire. Their own fear will break them for us. The officers nodded, their eyes burning with pride, because they saw the truth. The humans were fighting not only with weapons, but with shadows, with silence and whispers. The Council's confusion spread quickly across the galaxy. Whole worlds began to doubt the wisdom of the chamber. Merchants feared traveling near human space. Soldiers feared patrol duty, and civilians whispered about the ghost fleets. The more the Council tried to silence those whispers, the more they grew. Some began to believe that humans had not only survived, but had always been stronger, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. One night, in the great city of the Council capital, an old senator sat by his window, staring at the stars he had lived through many wars. But never had he seen fear like this in the faces of his people. He whispered to his aide, "Tell me, what if humans win the..." Aide froze, unable to answer, because deep down he believed it too. Meanwhile, alien fleets tried again to advance into human space. But their movements were slow, disorganized. Captains doubted orders. Crews muttered about suicide missions the enemy. They thought they had crushed, now stalked them like predators in the night. One fleet refused to jump altogether, their commander sending a single message to the chamber. "We will not die for your pride." The message was leaked and spread across hundreds of worlds. Back on Earth, resistance fighters on captured colonies launched coordinated attacks guided by secret transmissions. Whole garrisons of alien soldiers were wiped out in hours. The Council sent reinforcements, but found nothing but ruins. And human banners painted on walls. "We are still here." Every new strike spread the legend of human defiance across the stars. It was not only war, it was a story that captured the imagination of millions across the galaxy, and stories are more dangerous than fleets. Inside the chamber, another meeting dragged late into the night, arguments sharper than ever. The High Speaker tried to hold control, but his voice was drowned. A delegate from the war faction slammed his fist against the table, demanding full assault. Another from the peace faction shouted that their fleets would burn. If they tried, the Council was breaking apart, and everyone could feel it. One delegate whispered, "The humans are not destroying us with weapons. They are destroying us with silence." Earth spies listened closely, recording everything. Their disguises perfect, their movements unnoticed. One of them smiled faintly as he watched the mighty chamber crumble under its own fear. Later that night, he transmitted the data back to Earth, hidden beneath a stream of meaningless chatter. The Supreme Commander received it in silence, his eyes on the flickering map of the galaxy, red lines marking Council fleets, blue shadows marking the hidden human ones. Slowly, the blue spread further across the void on alien worlds. Riots broke out against the Council civilians, angry that their sons and daughters were being sent to die in human space. For no reason, markets collapsed as trade routes closed. Whole planets demanded independence from Council authority. Chaos was spreading not by human weapons, but by human whispers. The invaders who had begun the war watched with growing dread. Their leaders had promised the Council an easy victory, a quick extermination. But now they were blamed for every fleet lost, every soldier killed there. Allies began to turn cold, even hostile. Some demanded they answer for their failure. Others whispered they had underestimated humanity and doomed the galaxy to endless war. One night in the chamber, a message arrived. It was short. A recording intercepted. From human channels, it showed a single soldier standing on a ruined colony, his face dirty, his eyes burning. He spoke slowly. "We will not vanish. We will not kneel. We will not forgive." The chamber fell silent, every delegate staring at the screen, unable to look away. The High Speaker tried to dismiss it as propaganda, but no one listened. The words had already sunk deep. Across the galaxy, soldiers repeated those words before battle. Civilians painted them across walls. Smugglers whispered them in hidden bars. The story of humanity was no longer just their own. It was becoming something greater, a symbol of defiance against the Council itself, and that was more dangerous than any weapon. The Supreme Commander of Earth knew this. He turned to his captains and said clearly, "Let them argue. Let them fear. Every whisper weakens them. Every silence strengthens us. We do not need to fight the Council with fleets. Not yet. They will destroy themselves." The episode closes on the vision of the Grand Council chamber. Once bright, now filled with shadows. Delegates shouting at each other, their unity gone, while unseen in the crowd. A human spy smiles faintly, his eyes glimmering because he knows the truth. The Council is already breaking, and Earth has not even shown its full strength yet. The prisoner was dragged into the chamber, his wrists bound. His armor scorched, his eyes burning with hate. He was not human. He was one of the alien warlords who had commanded the first strikes against the human colonies. His capture shocked the Council because his fleet had vanished without a trace, and none expected to see him alive yet. Here he was, thrown to the ground before the delegates, his voice low and bitter. "You fools," he spat. "You think Earth was unprepared. They have been planning this war for centuries." The chamber went silent. Not a claw tapped, not a wing shifted. The words echoed across the vast hall. Planning for centuries. What did that mean? The delegates demanded answers. The warlord laughed a broken laugh. He told them of what he had seen before his capture. Entire human fleets hidden beneath planetary crusts, ships built into the bones of asteroids, weapons forged in silence for generations. The humans had not been caught unprepared. They had been waiting. The Council erupted in noise, half refused to believe it. The other half whispered that it explained everything. The blackout, the sudden strikes, the technology no one had seen before. Back on Earth, the truth was revealed to the soldiers. Gathered in the hidden war room, the Supreme Commander spoke slowly. Every colony, every city, every factory had prepared in secret. For this day, the Council never saw it. They never believed we could be patient, but we have been preparing for them. All along, he showed maps of tunnels carved deep beneath Mars, where factories worked in silence for decades. He showed secret orbital platforms disguised as debris circling Jupiter and Saturn. He revealed bunkers on Earth itself, brimming with weapons that had never been used before. The soldiers listened with wide eyes, realizing that humanity's survival had never been left to chance. Their parents and grandparents had built all this under the noses of the galaxy, silent, careful, hidden, while pretending weakness in council meetings. They had smiled and nodded, but behind the smiles they forged war machines. The Council thought Earth naive, but Earth had been playing a deeper game. The alien fleets discovered the truth in the worst way there. Com systems began to collapse one by one as human code worms spread through the network. These were viruses planted years before, hidden in devices traded with Council merchants. The invaders tried to purge them, but it was too late. Their systems burned with static, their engines failed, their weapons refused to fire. Then the humans struck ships appearing from the void, black hulls shimmering with cloaks, missiles cutting through the silence. The fleets had no chance. They died without sending a single warning. The Council watched as their feeds went dark, entire armadas gone in minutes. They demanded explanations, but none came. One delegate shouted that the humans had planted spies and saboteurs long before the war even started. Another screamed that the humans had planned this war from the very day they joined the Council. The chamber split again, louder and more desperate than ever. Some demanded extermination, others demanded surrender. No voice could calm them on a captured colony. A group of alien soldiers found themselves surrounded not by armies, but by civilians, men and women armed with strange weapons pulled from underground vaults. These were colonists who had trained in secret for years, waiting for the day they would Fight back, the aliens fired, but their weapons jammed code worms again. Their systems fried in silence. The humans advanced steady, relentless, their eyes filled with fire. The aliens surrendered and were marched away in shame. The Supreme Commander on Earth spoke to his captains again. Everything is unfolding as it must. The galaxy never believed we could think beyond tomorrow, but we have been building for generations. And now the time has come to reveal what we prepared. One captain asked how. Far the plan went. The commander's face was stone cold to the end. He said, to the very end. Rumors spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could fly. Whispers of hidden human arsenals. Whispers of old wars no one remembered. Whispers that Earth had known this would come all along. Traders told tales of secret weapons hidden in moons. Mercenaries swore they had seen human war machines the size of cities, hidden under seas. No one knew which stories were true, but the fear was enough. The Council tried to control the rumors, but even their soldiers stopped believing in orders. Entire garrisons refused to march against humans, muttering that it was suicide. Fleets began to crumble, not because humans had struck them, but because fear itself was tearing them apart, and humanity fed that fear carefully with each strike, each coded message, each silence. They gave the galaxy no answers, only shadows, and the shadows grew. One night, an alien captain recorded his final log before battle. His words spread far across the stars. He said, "We were told the humans were weak. We were told they were foolish. But I have seen their fire. I have seen their silence. I know now they have been waiting for us. They are not prey. They are not children. They are hunters, and the galaxy has woken them." His ship never returned. Back on Earth, children listened to the reports in hidden shelters. Their teachers whispered to them of the sacrifices made for centuries to prepare for this day. Mothers held their sons and daughters tighter, but in their eyes was no fear. There was pride, because at last the truth was clear. Humanity was not losing. Humanity was rising. The prisoner warlord sat in his dark cell, his voice hoarse when he whispered to his guards. "You do not understand, even now you do not understand. We thought you were young, but you are old in your bones. Old with patience, old with fury. We thought you were blind, but you have been watching us all along." His guards said nothing but the words, spread like poison, even among the Council's own people. The Supreme Commander stood once more before his fleets. His hand raised, his voice calm. "The war we fight is not only for survival, it is for every generation that built in silence, every worker who hid their labor, every soldier who trained in secret, every child who grew up in shadows. This is our war of memory and our war of fire, and when it ends, the galaxy will never forget who we are." The episode closes with a vision of Earth itself. The blue planet turning in the dark of space, surrounded now by the glow of hidden weapons rising from oceans and mountains. The world once thought defenseless revealed as a fortress. The Council had thought the silence was weakness, but it had always been strength. The war humanity planned in silence was no longer a secret, it was beginning. The night sky above Earth was alive with silent fire. The stars seemed brighter, but they were not stars. They were ships, thousands of them rising from the oceans, crawling out of mountains, launching from craters on the moon, and breaking free from the crust of Mars. Hidden fleets that had waited in silence for decades, now revealed to the galaxy. Each one carried the mark of humanity's fury. Black steel, sharp edges, glowing engines that hummed with power, long kept secret on the Council worlds. Panic spread as feeds showed the impossible fleets of humans rising from nowhere. War machines armed with weapons no one had seen before. Weapons that glowed with strange light weapons that ripped space itself open. The delegates shouted over each other, demanding answers. Some screamed that humanity had cheated others, that they had been betrayed by spies, but all fell silent when the screens showed What happened next? Earth was not just launching fleets. Earth was unleashing wrath. The first strike came without warning. A council stronghold orbiting a red star blinked out of existence, not destroyed in fire, but erased the space where it once hung twisted into a void, and then snapped shut as if it had never been there. The council commanders screamed orders. Their fleets scattered, but wherever they went, the humans followed black ships moving faster than any drive should allow missiles. Streaking like shadows that bent light itself, nothing could lock on, nothing could defend. On the ground, alien cities shook as human shock troops appeared in blinding flashes. They did not fall from the skies in pods. They did not march in ships. They appeared as if the shadows themselves had given birth. Soldiers in black armor, their visors glowing like fire, their weapons silent yet deadly. Entire battalions crumbled in minutes, not knowing how to fight an enemy that moved like ghosts. The stories spread faster than the battles. Some called them demons. Others whispered that humans had learned the secrets of ancient gods. The Supreme Commander stood in the war room on Earth, his eyes on the unfolding chaos around the galaxy. He did not shout, he did not smile. His voice was calm as he gave orders. Every strike must be precise, every blow must carry weight. We do not simply destroy, we remind them, we show them what we are. His captains obeyed without question, their faces pale but determined. They understood the truth. This was not only war, this was revelation. In the council chambers, silence hung heavy. The delegates watched entire fleets vanish. In the span of hours, they watched colonies crumble, not under bombardment, but under fear itself. Soldiers laying down arms without firing a shot. Leaders fleeing into the void. One delegate finally whispered, "What if we were wrong? What if humanity was never weak? What if they have always been stronger than us?" None answered, but the thought burned in every mind. A fleet of the Council's finest warships gathered near the rim of the galaxy, commanded by admirals who swore they would stop Earth. No matter the cost, they prepared ambush lines, hidden mines, energy shields, strong enough to shatter planets. They waited in silence. Then the humans came not in one direction, but in all at once, as if the void itself birthed them, black ships filling. Every sensor, the admirals screamed fire, every cannon roared, every missile launched, and yet the humans did not fall. Instead, the alien fleet crumbled as their own weapons turned back against them. Code worms twisted their systems, beams bent away. Shields cracked in silence when the smoke cleared. Nothing remained but drifting wrecks and the silent black hulls of human warships. The galaxy trembled as word spread. Humanity had unleashed something far beyond what anyone imagined. They did not fight like a desperate people defending their home. They fought like conquerors who had been patient for centuries and now had chosen their time. Entire races began to whisper of surrender. Not because their worlds were touched, but because fear itself had already broken them. The humans had shown they could strike anywhere at any time, and there was no defense. Back on Earth, the commander walked among the soldiers who prepared for the next phase. He told them in simple words, "We are not fighting to prove our strength, we are fighting so they never forget. We are not prey, we are not weak, we are not silent anymore." Every soldier stood taller, their hearts pounding, their weapons ready. They had grown up in shadows, and now they marched into fire, knowing the galaxy finally saw them for what they were. The Council attempted one final act. They gathered their ancient fleets, ships, older than most worlds, relics from forgotten wars. They brought them together at the core systems, a last stand. They told themselves humanity could not fight so many at once. They told themselves numbers would win, but when the humans arrived, it was not with numbers, it was with something the Council could not understand. The skies tore open, and from the void came colossal shapes, machines larger than cities, titans of war that had slept beneath oceans, and deep within the crust of Earth, awakened now, their weapons glowing brighter than suns. The ancient fleets fired with desperation, but the titans moved with Silent fury each blast, cutting through dozens of ships each strike, shaking the core worlds themselves. The Council watched helpless as their last hope shattered. The alien warlord who had once mocked humanity sat in his cell, listening to the echoes of battle far away, his face pale, his voice broken. "I told you," he whispered to his guard, "they were waiting. They always were waiting. You thought them small, you thought them weak, but you never understood. They were building this war inside their bones." The guard said nothing, but the words spread in whispers even among his people. The legend of humanity's wrath growing like fire. The galaxy itself seemed to bend around the storm. Earth had unleashed planets that had once ignored humanity, now sent. Desperate messages of surrender. Mercenary fleets switched sides rather than face destruction. Even worlds untouched by war chose silence, afraid that a single wrong word would bring the black ships upon them. The humans did not respond. Not yet there. Silence was worse than fire. Every world held its breath, waiting, wondering where the wrath would fall next. The Supreme Commander looked to the stars, his eyes steady, his voice calm. "This is only the beginning," he said. "They thought our silence was weakness, but our silence was the forge. And from that forge we rise now and forever." His words were carried to every ship, every soldier, every hidden arsenal across the void, and all of them answered with a single vow. Humanity was done. Hiding humanity was done waiting. Humanity had struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy had grown silent, but the silence was not peace, it was fear. Every world listened for the hum of black engines in the void. Every commander watched the stars, wondering if tonight would be the night humanity arrived. Entire fleets stayed hidden. Entire planets turned off their signals, hoping to be ignored, but everyone knew they could not hide forever. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, the delegates gathered, their faces pale, their eyes hollow. They had lost fleets, they had lost colonies, they had lost the sense of control that had guided them for centuries. Humanity had struck back with such force that even the strongest races trembled. The council chambers, once filled with shouting and arrogance, now felt like a tomb. No one dared raise their voice too high, because even here they feared humanity was listening. Finally, one delegate spoke, his voice shaking. "We cannot fight them openly. We cannot match their fleets or their weapons, but perhaps we can outthink them. Perhaps there is one last gamble left." Another delegate asked, what gamble could possibly change this? The first one leaned forward, whispering words that chilled the chamber. "We must strike at Earth itself, not with fleets, not with warships, but with something far darker." The Council had long kept forbidden weapons hidden deep in vaults. Weapons so dangerous they had been banned by every race. But desperation tore down every law one by one. These weapons were brought out, ancient devices that could twist the fabric of reality, spores that could eat through metal and bone, viruses that could wipe out entire populations in days. Weapons that no sane commander would ever unleash. Until now, the Council gathered them all into a single plan, the last gamble. If Earth itself could be broken, then humanity's wrath might finally end. While the Council plotted, humanity moved quietly across the stars. Their fleets struck like shadows, erasing strongholds, burning supply lines, cutting communication with surgical precision. Every strike was designed not only to destroy, but to remind the galaxy of one truth: humans could go anywhere and no one could stop them. Still, the Supreme Commander knew this was not the end. He stood in the war chamber, his eyes fixed on distant stars. "They are desperate," he told his captains. "Desperate enemies are the most dangerous. They will gamble everything on one strike. We must be ready on Earth." The skies were filled with ships rising and landing. The hidden titans of war stood guard around the planet like sleeping gods, their weapons glowing with quiet light. The people of Earth lived with both pride and fear. They had seen their fleets destroy entire armadas. They had seen their soldiers crush enemies like shadows in fire, but they also knew the council was not finished. A whisper of unease hung over the cities. Parents told their children to stay close. Soldiers patrolled every street, every outpost. The world held its breath. Far away, the council's plan began to move. Fleets disguised as refugee ships drifted through the void, carrying forbidden weapons hidden in their cores. They approached Earth's system. Slowly, carefully, their signals masked their hulls coated in shadows. Earth's defenses scanned the skies, but the Council had prepared too well. The fleets moved like ghosts, unseen, unwanted, until they were almost at the gates of the system. At the same time, spies hidden on Earth awoke from the shadows, long-buried agents who had lived as humans for decades. Blending into the cities, these spies carried fragments of the forbidden weapons hidden in their bodies, waiting for the signal. When the time came, they would release chaos from within. Even as the false refugee fleets attacked from without, it was a plan of desperation and cruelty, but it was the Council's last hope. The signal came like a whisper across the stars, and suddenly, the night over Earth, burned ships that appeared harmless, erupted with power, strange weapons crackling with energy that twisted the air shields, bent sensors, screamed alarms, lit every outpost at once. Humanity's defenders rushed into action, but even as they moved, chaos erupted inside cities. Strange clouds spread across the skies, machines malfunctioned at once. Whole sectors of power grids went dark, shadows poured out as the spies unleashed the hidden weapons. The Supreme Commander watched the feeds as chaos spread across his world. His face remained calm, but his voice was sharp. Seal. The cities contain the clouds, do not let them spread. Strike the fleets at once. No mercy. The captains obeyed. Human warships roared to life. Black engines, burning brighter than suns, they tore through the false refugee fleets, weapons cutting them apart with ruthless speed. But the forbidden devices kept spreading. Strange rifts tore open near the planet. Strange storms raged in the skies. Civilians screamed as the ground itself shook. In the council chambers, the delegates watched their plan unfold. For the first time in months, their faces showed hope. One of them whispered, "Perhaps this will be the end of them. Perhaps this is how Earth falls." But their hope was short-lived. Because humanity did not falter. Humanity did not collapse. Instead, humanity adapted as it always had. Soldiers in black armor marched into the storms, sealing them with devices no alien had ever seen. Fleets redirected energy to contain the rifts. Scientists worked alongside warriors, their hands steady, their voices calm, while the world itself seemed to break around them. Humanity did not surrender. They fought the storm with the same fury they had fought fleets. Hours turned into days, the battle raged. In silence, black ships clashed with alien fleets above, while cities fought the storms below. Every moment felt like the edge of collapse, yet somehow the humans held the line. Entire battalions were lost, sealing rifts. Entire fleets sacrificed themselves to keep Earth safe, and still they did not break. The commander stood in the war chamber, his eyes cold, his voice steady. "Tell the council their last gamble has failed. Tell them humanity still stands." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Images of Earth scarred but unbroken, black ships returning to their posts, titans of war, still standing guard, cities damaged but alive. The humans had faced the darkest weapons the Council could unleash and survived. The galaxy watched in silence there. Last hope gone. The Council delegates stared at the images, unable to speak. Their gamble had failed. Their power was broken. One by one, races began to abandon the Council. Entire systems declared neutrality. Fleets surrendered without a fight. Mercenary armies turned their ships toward Earth, offering loyalty instead of war. The Council, once mighty, began to crumble, not from fire, but from fear. The warlord who had once mocked humanity sat in chains, whispering to himself, "They do not fall. They never fall. They rise again and again like fire in the dark. You cannot end them. You can only fear them." On Earth, the people stood together, scarred but unbroken. They knew the war was not finished. They knew the Council still had claws, still had shadows. But they also knew humanity had faced the storm and survived. The Supreme Commander looked to the stars, his voice soft but strong. They gambled everything, and still, we stand now. The galaxy knows the truth. They cannot break us. They cannot silence us. We are the storm. As his words spread across the void, millions of human voices answered with one cry. Their voices carried through ships, through cities, through the endless night. A vow that echoed like thunder. Humanity had endured the Council's last gamble. Humanity had struck back, and now nothing would ever stop them. The galaxy trembled, not just in fear, but in certainty. The final chapter was coming, and when it came, humanity would decide the fate of all. The galaxy trembled in silence. Stars burned cold and distant. Whole worlds sat in fear, waiting for what they all knew was coming. The final strike. Earth had survived the storms, it had crushed the fleets, it had broken the forbidden weapons. But everyone knew the war was not over. Because humanity was not done. Humanity did not simply defend, humanity answered. The Galactic Council was broken, its chambers half empty, its fleets scattered, but the few leaders who remained clung to power with desperate hands. They whispered to each other in shadows. If Earth is not stopped now, there will be no council, no empire, no galaxy left, only humans and their will. They tried to send messages calling on allies, begging for armies, but the replies came back silent, one by one. The stars turned away. No one wanted to stand against Earth anymore. Inside Earth's war chambers, the Supreme Commander watched the feeds. His eyes calm, but cold fleets lined up across the void. Black engines glowing, the titans of war hovered near the homeworld. Silent but alive, each one carried power enough to shatter stars. The commander turned to his captains, his voice steady. The time has come. We will not wait for their next move. The council must be ended here and now. The fleets prepared for war. Soldiers marched through hangars. Scientists adjusted the machines of fire. Families on Earth looked to the skies, knowing this battle would decide everything. It was no longer just about defense, no longer about survival. This was about ending the threat forever. The last Council world sat in the heart of a dying star cluster, its skies filled with shields and fleets, its ground covered in weapons built over centuries. The Council had prepared it as their fortress, their last hope. Thousands of warships guarded it. Layers of defense stretched across the system. Every gun pointed toward the black void. They knew humanity was coming. They knew nothing could stop it. But they hoped at least to survive the storm. The storm came without warning. No great speech, no declaration, only silence, then darkness. Then the black ships appeared, thousands of them rising out of shadows, engines burning brighter than suns. Humanity's fleets swept across the system, moving with terrifying precision. The first line of alien fleets opened fire. The sky lit up with beams and firestorms, but the humans did not stop. They moved through the fire like blades cutting through smoke. Every strike was brutal, every movement exact. Ships shattered in silence. Worlds burned. The alien fleets fought with everything they had, but humanity's ships did not falter one by one. The Council defenses collapsed, the skies filled with wreckage. The ground shook as the titans of war entered the system, their shadows larger than moons. Weapons glowing with power never seen before. The Council chamber shook as reports came in. Entire fleets gone, defenses breached. The delegates screamed in panic. Some demanded surrender. Others shouted for one last counterstrike, but deep in their hearts, they knew it was already over. Still, desperation drove them. They activated their last weapon, hidden beneath their fortress world, a device built to tear open the fabric of space itself. A black hole cannon capable of swallowing entire fleets. The weapon roared to life, the skies bent, light twisted, the humans were pulled toward the darkness. Ships strained, engines burned. Captains shouted orders, but the commander's voice cut through all chaos. Steady and calm, hold position, adjust formation. Drive power into the cause. Trust the line, and they obeyed. Human fleets shifted, forming patterns unknown to the galaxy. Their ships linked energy together, building a shield of pure force. The black hole cannon screamed, but the shield held slowly. Then faster, the humans turned the weapon back. The darkness bent, then snapped. The cannon collapsed on itself, swallowing the Council's last fortress in fire and silence. On Earth, people watched the live feeds as the Council world vanished into the void. No cheer, no celebration, only silence. They knew what it meant. The war was over. The Supreme Commander stood on his bridge, his eyes fixed on the stars, his voice low but carried across every channel, to every ship, to every world. It is finished. The Council is no more. The galaxy is free. But hear me, this is not the end of humanity. This is only the beginning. We will not rule with chains. We will not crush the weak. But know this, never again will Earth kneel. Never again will we be silent. We are the defenders of our world, and the galaxy will remember. The message spread across the stars. Worlds that had once feared humanity now listened. In awe, systems long crushed by the Council rose up to declare freedom. Fleets that had hidden now returned to light, carrying the banner of Earth not as conquerors, but as proof that no empire, no council, no power could ever silence humanity. In the ruins of the galaxy, the humans moved quietly. They did not enslave, they did not destroy more than needed. They rebuilt, they guided, they defended. But the memory of their wrath hung over every star. Every race remembered the night the black ships appeared and the Council was erased on Earth. The people stood together, scarred but unbroken. They had faced the greatest powers of the galaxy they had faced, forbidden weapons, storms of chaos, fleets without end, and still they had endured. The cities glowed again, children laughed under the skies, soldiers returned home to quiet streets. The world was alive, but the commander knew this was not the end. He stood alone at the edge of the great fortress, watching the skies. He whispered to himself, "The galaxy will always hold shadows. There will always be those who rise with chains and fire, and when they come, humanity will rise again. We are the storm." And across the stars the whisper grew stronger, passed from world to world, from ship to ship, from heart to heart. Humanity stood, humanity struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same. Again, the story of Earth had become the story of defiance, the story of wrath, the story of survival and victory, whispered forever in the silence of the stars.